You know that friend who always cancels plans? The one who says they are tired again, not feeling it today, maybe next time. And people laugh about them, roll their eyes, label them flaky, antisocial, boring, and move on without ever wondering what is actually happening beneath the surface. But here is the truth that almost no one talks about. That friend is not avoiding life. They are protecting something precious, something fragile, something deeply personal. And if you are someone who feels a quiet sense of relief when plans fall through, if a Friday night in pajamas feels better than a Friday night out, if staying home does not feel lonely but feels safe, grounding, restorative, then welcome. This is for you. And today, we are breaking down the psychology of people who love staying at home, the people society calls boring, but science understands in a completely different way. Because the first thing most people get wrong is assuming that everyone gains energy the same way. Some people walk into a crowded room and feel alive. Their body wakes up, their thoughts sharpen, their energy rises, and they leave buzzing with stories, laughter, and stimulation. And that experience is real, valid, and natural for them. But there is another type of person, someone who enjoys people, who can laugh, connect, care deeply, and still feel drained afterward. Because every conversation, even a good one, costs energy. Every plan slowly lowers the battery. And when the night ends, there is nothing left. And for these people, home is not avoidance. It is the charger that actually works. Psychologists call this optimal arousal theory, which explains that different nervous systems require different levels of stimulation to feel balanced and regulated. Some people need noise, movement, novelty, and social energy to feel good, while others need calm, predictability, and space. And this difference is not a flaw. It is not laziness. It is not fear. It is not something to fix. It is biology and temperament and wiring. But the story does not end at introversion because many people love staying home not just because of energy, but because home gives them something the outside world rarely does, which is control. Outside, the world is unpredictable, loud, crowded, fast, full of interruptions, micro-expectations. Small talk you do not mean, plans that change without warning, people who ask how you are but do not want an honest answer, environments that demand performance, presence, reaction, and emotional labor. And for someone who is sensitive, observant, anxious, thoughtful, or deeply internal, that constant unpredictability creates tension that never fully shuts off. But at home, the lights are right, the sounds are chosen, the pace is slower, the silence is allowed. The nervous system can finally exhale. And for people with anxiety, high sensitivity, or emotional depth, that sense of control is not indulgence, it is survival. It is regulation. It is how they keep themselves functioning. And here is the part no one tells you, the part that challenges everything society assumes. People who enjoy staying home are often smarter in ways that are not loud or obvious. They score higher in introspection, self-reflection, and metacognition. They think before they speak. They analyze patterns. They replay conversations not to obsess but to understand. They connect dots that others overlook because their mind is not constantly distracted. Studies show that people who enjoy solitude tend to be more creative, more strategic, and better at problem solving because deep thinking does not happen in chaos. It happens in quiet. Great ideas are rarely born in noisy rooms. They are born alone at night, when thoughts spiral, settle, and reorganize, when the brain has space to wander, connect, imagine, and synthesize. Homebodies are not bored easily because their inner world is rich. They can sit with a thought for hours. They can entertain themselves with ideas, concepts, memories, possibilities. They do not need constant stimulation because their mind is already active, already processing, already building. And this is where intelligence shows up, not in volume, but in depth. And beyond intelligence, many people who love staying home are emotionally intelligent. They know their limits. They listen to their nervous system. They recognize when something drains them and choose not to force themselves into environments that cost more than they give. They do not chase validation through attendance. They do not measure their worth by how booked their calendar is. They practice self-awareness, even when society calls it antisocial. And that self-awareness is rare. It takes courage to say, "This is enough for me," in a world that constantly demands more. But society does not reward this kind of intelligence. We glorify busyness, productivity, visibility, being everywhere, doing everything, being seen. Influencers call it living your best life, as if a life is only meaningful when it is loud, public, and documented. But what if your best life is quiet? What if your best life is a documentary, some soup, a familiar couch, and no expectations? What if joy for you looks like routine, ritual, and rest instead of novelty and noise? That is not sad. That is clarity and self-knowledge. And still, it is important to be honest, because not everyone stays home for the same reason. Some people stay home because it fills them up, while others stay home because leaving feels too heavy. For some, home is a refuge, a place to recharge, reflect, and reset. And for others, it slowly becomes a cage shaped by social anxiety, past rejection, trauma, or depression that whispers, "What is the point?" And this distinction matters. Staying home out of peace is different from staying home out of fear. One is self-respect. The other is a signal that support may be needed. And compassion matters here, not judgment. But for those who genuinely love staying home, they are not missing out. They are not falling behind. They are not wasting their life. They are living differently. They find meaning in small rituals, morning coffee, the same mug, the same time, the same silence. They notice the way light moves across the room, the comfort of repetition, the grounding nature of predictability. They find joy in familiarity, not because they lack imagination, but because familiarity feels safe. And safe is where growth quietly happens. Psychologists describe this as low stimulation preference, which means these individuals do not need the world to constantly entertain them. Their internal landscape is already full. They are capable of sustained focus, deep work, emotional nuance, and long-term thinking. They often make good planners, strategists, listeners, writers, therapists, researchers, creatives, and thinkers because they value depth over speed. They do not rush experiences, they absorb them. So if you are someone who turns down invitations without guilt, who feels genuinely happy spending a weekend alone, who would rather rewatch a comfort show than chase moments that look exciting but feel empty, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not wasting time. You are wired for depth over noise, peace over performance, meaning over motion. And the world actually needs people like this. People who slow down, who think deeply, who feel fully, who choose intentionally instead of reflexively. In a culture addicted to stimulation, choosing stillness is not failure. It is resistance. It is wisdom. It is knowing yourself well enough to stop performing for others and start listening to yourself. And that may be one of the smartest things a person can do.